My name is Brendan Armour, and today I'll be talking to you about the GT World Challenge. So, the GT World Challenge is a sport car racing series. This just means that manufacturers kind of take the real life sports cars and kind of make them into a purpose-built race car. Some big names of this that you might recognize is the Acura NSX or the Mercedes AMG, the Porsche 911, or even the Ferrari 458, anything kind of like that. This is just the Mercedes AMG that you see here in front of you. As you can see on the top left is the road legal variation, and on the bottom right there is the Mercedes AMG that races in the GT class that we are talking about here today. So the GT World Challenge is it's a spec racing series. So all that means is that the teams have to basically share more components between other teams than what a constructors would. So the cars um, are less, and they have less individual parts on them. So the cars are a lot closer to racing. It just makes things more on the racing driver's shoulders versus on the racing car itself. The GT World Challenge uses two different variations of cars. They use the GT3 and the GT4 specs. GT4s are a little bit slower than the GT3s. They have, they weigh a little bit more. They have less downforce, less horsepower, kind of stuff like that. They'll build it more for your amateur racer versus the GT3. It's kind of the exact opposite. They have more horsepower, less weight, more downforce. They're built for more of a professional racer, a little bit more of a car to handle. Um, the GT World Challenge is not a ladder series. So unlike Formula One, which has like, Formula Four, Formula Three, Formula Two, and Formula One, I mean, like a driver would just kind of progress their way up. The GT World Challenge just doesn't have that. There's no reason for it to have it. Um, they also race on um, purpose, like just circuits that stay there throughout the entire year. They do not race on street circuits at all. Here's some examples. In the top left there is Austin, Texas. That is Circuit of the Americas. That is Paul Ricard on the top right. That's in France. That is a Road to America on the bottom left, and that is the Nürburgring in Germany on the bottom right. This kind of brings me to the next thing. They are a global series. Every little glowing dot that you see there is a current race that they are racing. Current in the 2023 series, that's where they race. So they race all over the world. They impact millions of people. And they also have a lot of strength when impacting these people compared to some of the other series. Number one, there's a huge variety of track. Each one of those dots that you see is completely different to any of the other ones. They're all completely unique and they all completely add their own set of challenges. Number two, there's a lot closer racing with the spec series than the constructor series. This is a picture of in the middle of a race. That's a lot of cars in one spot. That's a lot of action happening all at once. This is a lot of times on the constructor series, you have one car or a few cars that are just so far ahead that nobody else can keep up. That is very hard to happen. That's very unlikely to happen in this spec series here because all the cars are relatively the same, just with a little bit of difference here and there. Another great thing for fans is that the tickets are pretty cheap compared to some of the other racing series. I know when I went down to Austin, Texas, general admission was like $300 to get in. However, I've seen articles online about this racing series where it's like $10 for a Sunday ticket. So it's really good. That's 30 times cheaper than general admission on Formula One. So fans really enjoy that. Also, fans will enjoy that recognize these cars a lot more. They can see these cars on the street, and if they have enough money, they can go buy a car that looks very similar to the cars that they're seeing racing on track. That's very good for marketing because you win the race on Sunday, you sell a car on Monday. That's just a big marketing campaign that works in NASCAR, it works here too. Some downside to this is that since these cars um, do have a lot of restrictions on them, thanks to the Spec Series, they are not as fast as some of the constructor series. This car would never be as fast as a Formula One car, or well, probably even a Formula Two car. So some fans kind of find that uninteresting because they are not going around at 200-mile-an-hour plus around corners and stuff. Another kind of downside is that they don't push the envelope as much as Formula One does. Formula One does, they'll pioneer and, they're trying to, by 2030, they'll have everybody with renewable fuel. They aren't really doing that. They aren't trying to make the world a better place. They're just there for racing. I know that's what a lot of racing fans want. They don't, in our hobbies, we usually don't want to be bombarded with the problems of the world still. Um, there's some people like that always helping the world. Um, even those little downsides, though, they're not going to stop viewers from watching. The main point of that is that viewers can watch these every race for free online. They live stream the races on YouTube. They upload the entire race replay on YouTube, and they put the highlights on YouTube. And YouTube, it's all free. All you have to do is watch some ads, and it's all free. Um, Here is actually a little picture of the YouTube channel. Here you can see a lot of their race highlights and their race replays and stuff like that. Um, and kind of how, as I mentioned before, fans will recognize these cars a lot more than what they would with a Formula One car. If you took all the badges off of Formula One and you told a person to go identify it, they most likely couldn't do it. That's unlike the racing series here, are very recognizable to fans. If you walk up to one of the Porsche race cars, even if you took all the badges off it, an average person could still look and see that it is a Porsche. Since they're so close, sometimes manufacturers even sell the car basically straight to consumers out of the race car. This kind of happened to Ford and Le Mans. Even though they're not in the GT World Class Series, I thought it was still a really cool story to bring up. Um, on the left there is Ford's Le Mans winning car, and they basically just sold it straight to consumers. The Ford GT itself is very close to the winning car, and they actually sold the Le Mans car to people too. You obviously can't drive it on the street, but you can take it to the track. Yeah. Um, and you know, also other manufacturers do this too. I mean, you have the Mercedes AMG GTR. That's basically a road legal version of the G3 Mercedes cars. Uh, the only kind of the biggest internal threat to these series is that the fact that they are so easily mistakable for the other sports car series. There's a ton of sports car racing series out there. Um, these pictures of the Forza Super Cup, if an average person sat down, they might think that this is a GT, the World Challenge. And that's not really their fault because some of the Porsches even race in that series. They just probably wouldn't realize. Um, the biggest outside threat is kind of that go green um, mentality that I mentioned before. This series isn't really doing a lot with that. I'm sure they're doing things behind the scenes, but they're not marketing it very much. But I do recommend greatly watch. This is a great series to watch. I say it's a great intro series because everything's free. You don't have to pay for a subscription to watch this. You can just get on YouTube and start watching some stuff and start watching the entire stuff. It is a fantastic series to get into, and I really think that everybody should at least try to get into the series just because it's so easy to watch and it's so enjoyable. And yeah, I hope you. I thank you all for listening. You know, Go try to watch it when it's on the season. It's on pretty much all the time. I mean, they race all the time whenever it's in season. So thank you for listening.